Hi, everyone.
Greetings. We are in 1 Corinthians 13 and now a bit of 14 as well, where he's still talking about the way of love, the famous love chapter 13, but also he gets into how this applies now to the order of the congregation and the prioritizing of the gifts of the congregation in chapter 14. So we'll reread some of 13 to get the flow. That would be 13, 8 to 13, and then 14, 1 to 4 in the New World Translation.
Love never fails, but if there are gifts of prophecy, they will be done away with. If there are tongues, they will cease. If there is knowledge, it will be done away with. For we have partial knowledge, and we prophesy partially. But when what is complete comes, what is partial will be done away with. When I was a child, I used to speak as a child, to think as a child, to reason as a child. But now that I have become a man, I have done away with the traits of a child. For now we see in hazy outline, by means of a metal mirror. But then it will be face to face. As at present I know partially, but then I will know accurately, just as I am accurately known. The ESV, I think, says fully, which I like much better. Now, however, these three remain: faith, hope, love. But the greatest of these is love. Pursue love, yet keep striving for the spiritual gifts, but preferably that you may prophesy.
He says in the ESV, especially that you may prophesy.
For the one who speaks in a tongue speaks not to men, but to God. For no one listens, but he speaks sacred secrets by the Spirit. However, the one who prophesies builds up and encourages and consoles men by his speech. The one who speaks in a tongue builds up himself, but the one who prophesies builds up a congregation.
The ESV says in verse 2, for one who speaks in a tongue speaks not to men but to God, for no one understands him. Well, there's the essence of why Paul prioritizes prophecy. And the gift of prophecy. If you're going to seek a gift, let that one be the gift. And that's not necessarily supernatural, because we can all speak for God, which is the essential meaning of prophesy. We can all speak for God, but that demands that we first of all want to communicate. We want other people to understand us. So he doesn't say, no, tongues is of no use at all, and that despite the fact that pagans also speak in tongues. He doesn't say, no, not at all, but he does say it has a personal benefit. Yeah. It builds you up, perhaps, and encourages you to get closer to God, but it doesn't help the congregation.
Because, there's Paul recommends that if in the congregation someone were speaking in tongues, there should be an interpreter there. But if there was no interpreter, it doesn't benefit the congregation. Only the person speaking in tongues might feel closer to God. But if it doesn't edify the congregation, he's saying, he's not saying it's no good for you, but he is saying it's not going to benefit the congregation.
So this gift, over and over again, he emphasizes in here, it shouldn't be exalted to the top of the list. And what would put it at the top of the list? Well, it's very splashy. Let's face it, it's sensational. It gets people's attention. And it certainly gets yours, because you haven't experienced it before. So no one is saying no tongues. And unlike the church of the past, where this was a very big issue, what we used to call, well, I guess they still call it cessationalism, meaning the gifts have ceased. Now in 13 it makes the point, no, the ceasing will be when that which is complete comes, which is now associated by most scholars with the second coming. However, in the meantime, what are we here for? And that's to build one another up and to be part of the church in that sense, contributing to the building up or edification of the body. So when Godet is reasoning on this in his great commentary, which I have here before us, certainly we recommend it. He is a cessationalist, however. Why? Because he believes that this gift, to follow up on Paul's illustration of childhood here, Let me just read you a brief quote from Godet, page 681 in his 1 Corinthians commentary. He just says, "The gift of tongues corresponds in the divine domain to the babbling of the child in its first joyous experience of life." So who doesn't get joy communicated when you watch a child babbling? But the point is, the babbling is something that expresses the life of the child, the joy of the child, but it's not a permanent gift to the child. It will be replaced by something else later, which Godet says, well, that might be like music in the church, or it might be like theology in the church. That something better came along in the church's maturity.
There's maturity,
Yeah, and that seems to be the point about the prophesying here. There are things that are of permanent value to the church, and there are things that are of temporary value to you, or maybe to the church. So
they have their place.
Yeah, they have their place.
And their time.
We have to prioritize, though.
So the other one was on page 690.
This is page 691 of Godet's commentary.
No, well, okay. I think it's 690.
690, that's right.
Yeah.
We have just seen that faith and hope abide continually, but undergoing incessant transformation, the one into sight, the other into possession. It is not so with charity, he says. Love does not see, does not acquire. It is the divine. God does not believe nor hope, but he loves. Love belongs to his essence. That's a valuable distinction. And you've got...
I've got F.F. Bruce. I know it's very glaring, but that's F.F. Bruce.
Excuse me.
New Century Bible Commentary.
And Leon Morris, too.
Yeah. And Leon Morris, yeah. So, F.F. Bruce states, "The present phase of our existence is that of coming perfection as childhood is to maturity. The mind and practice which are appropriate to childhood are inappropriate for maturity. The Corinthians must recognize that the things to which they attached paramount importance were the transient concerns of spiritual immaturity, and learn to set the highest value on the things that endure forever." That's what F.F. Bruce said.
And Leon Morris.
Okay.
Now, I'm not sure, by the way, whether Bruce and Morris were cessationalists. And that's important because nowadays, even those who used to be called cessationalists or cessationists have modified their views somewhat, given the context here, as we said, about the when that which is complete arrives, etc. So here's Leon Morris, who's reformed, by the way, like Godet is.
He talks about the word agape was not in common use before the New Testament, but Christians took it up and made it their characteristic word for love. It is a new word for a new idea. It is a love for the utterly unworthy, a love which proceeds from a God who is love. It is a love lavished upon others without a thought of whether they are worthy to receive it or not. It proceeds rather from the nature of the lover than from any merit in the beloved.
Wow, that's a profound point.
Yeah, very
love
good.
That's not born of any merit in us, but rather from God's own nature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's more about him than us.
So you can understand why the kind of love that some people recommend, like the group we came out of, Jehovah's Witnesses, is not really agape love. That's conditional love.
Yeah.
That's generated by the merit of the recipient of the love.
They define it principled love, and I think that this is emphasizing that it's you're unworthy for the love, but you still receive it.
Still get it, yeah.
Because of the nature of God.
While we were yet sinners, Christ died for us.
Yeah.
What's our link?
I don't have one. No. Do I? No. don't think we wrote one down.
We messed up again.
Yeah.
Oh well.
We'll put something in.
Something really juicy.
Something good. Yeah.
See you soon.